It's Sunday, and that means it's the All Effing Wrestling Show. What do we got on the show today, JFB?
It's good that you asked. We got a joke, we got some news, but it's all centered around a man that the three of us consider to be the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. We're talking about Bret Hart. Damn right, because we're Bret Hart marks.
All this and more on the All Effing Wrestling Show.
Woo! Ding, ding. Let's roll it, interns.
Coming to you live from the FN Worldwide Media Studios, located in parts unknown.
It's the All Effing Wrestling Show.
With your host, Canada Dry. And the JFB.
Tell me how it's priced. Tell me if the item is for sale. And tell me.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome to this week's edition of the All Effing Wrestling Show. I am, of course, the JFB, James from Boston.
And I am the patron saint of professional wrestling. I'm the best there is. I'm the best there was. And I'm the best there ever will be. I'm Canada Dry, damn it. And this is a callback to episode 1. I wore the shades.
Damn right you did.
Nice.
Damn right you did. We are joined by our third mark, if you will, for Bret Hart. That, of course, is the effing expert, Mr. Eyesiks. Say hi.
Just call me Marky Mark here because I am a Marky Mark for Bret the Hitman Hart. I am one half of the Magic of Wrestling podcast, even though I've been on a little hiatus. I'll be back soon, guys. Don't worry about me. I'm Mr.
Yeah, even though you're on a hiatus, you're appearing on Dynamite After Dark. You're appearing on the All Effing Wrestling Show. So we're not really missing you.
I'm a floating ghost.
We're putting you to work. We're putting you to work.
I'll clean the bathrooms if you tell me to. I mean, it's just, I'm here for whatever.
That's the intern's job, but you know they don't do a very good job to begin with. So yeah,
I've noticed.
Yeah, they don't. They got a I don't want to clean toilets policy. All of
the
them.
little stickiness whenever you step in front of the urinal, you know.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Well, actually, that's me. I keep spilling the Canada Dry on the ground as I'm sitting on the toilet. So.
Celebrating it,
No.
shaking
I'd
it.
rather be ginger
Like,
ale.
yeah, what a
That makes
show,
me feel
baby.
better.
It's everywhere.
We got joined by Joseph Graham. Joseph Graham says, hello, guys.
What's
Hello,
up, Joe?
Mr. Graham. Best looking hair, if you will, ever in the history of hair.
If you will.
So, for
And you
those
know
of
who's
you-
going to make his cameo
Fruit
for
cat.
the show? It's
Yeah, all right.
Fruit the Hitman Cat.
Fruit the
Fruit the
Hitman.
Hitman Cat.
So, in case you guys are wondering, if you're just tuning in or if you're listening in podcast land, this show is all about one man and one man only. It is, of course, about Bret Hart. This is our tribute show. Bret the Hitman Hart. We are unabashed when it comes to our love for the Hitman. We are unabashed when it comes to our markdom, if you will. We love Bret Hart. So throughout the
So
episode,
you're telling me
Yeah.
that we didn't just get a red sock in the laundry and just everything went pink.
no, there's intention behind this.
Okay.
Intention.
Like the red hat incident from The Simpsons.
Can we start off with this?
Yeah.
What does Bret Hart mean to you? Can we ask that question?
Sure. You want me to go first?
Go ahead.
Bret came at a very unique time for me when you have like Trash Guys and Repo Men, and it was cartoonish. Bret came out and took the business seriously. Sometimes the business treated him well, and sometimes the business gave him a big middle finger, but he loved that business. And it showed that you could take your work seriously. You don't have to be a 6'10", 300-pound steroid ridden giant to be successful. And that if you follow your dreams and you work really hard, good things are going to come to you. And that was a huge impression to me as a kid. So he means the world to me. Absolutely. Canada Dry, what is he?
Well, I'll save it for last. That I want to know what Bret Hart means to Jeremy.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so for me, Bret Hart was the first real technician that I ever got into, because when I was a little kid, I was an Ultimate Warrior guy.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're all about the aesthetic when you're a little kid, but when you start to get a little older, you start to appreciate the technicalities a little more. And then when Bret Hart came along, he kind of ushered in a new era where it's not so much about the big body guys anymore. It's about the smaller, more technical guys that really know like the holds, the grappling. And I really got into that. Like I loved Bret Hart. Like he was the guy that got me into technical wrestling. Like I wouldn't be a smart fan of wrestling if I hadn't gone down the rabbit hole of being a fan of Bret Hart.
Yeah.
And just going to local WWF house shows when I was a kid, and I was standing right at the entranceway when Bret Hart had finished his match, and he had the winged eagle belt over his shoulder and was walking right in front of me. I didn't have the guts to reach out and touch it, but I was literally like 2 feet away from him.
Awesome.
And that just stands out in my mind and always will.
Yeah. Whew. That is a
me,
moment.
To me, Bret Hart is like a junior mint.
Okay.
Now
don't eat it around surgery.
When you eat a junior mint,
yeah,
you don't realize how refreshing it is. It's refreshing.
Yeah.
There's a whole Seinfeld episode about it.
Yeah. I just watched that episode last night. It's really refreshing, a junior mint. But Bret Hart came along and gave us what we needed, not what we wanted. Yeah. And we're like, oh yeah, we do need this.
Yeah.
We do need this match storytelling. We do need this ethics. We do need this real life Canadian superhero. And there was a crossroads when Lex Luger was running the Lex Express, and Bret Hart was the Daniel Bryan of his day.
Yeah,
and he was getting over. And Vince had to choose. He had to be like, well, I guess I'm going with Bret.
Yeah.
And we're so lucky for that, because to me, Bret's everything to me. He just makes you fall in love with what he's doing.
Oh yeah.
No
yeah,
doubt.
Absolutely. I want to flash Alex Hayden throughout the show. We're going to do our top 10 favorite matches as we go throughout the show. But I want to pull up Alec Haney. Alec Haney, how you doing, brother? Says, who has met Bret Hart? I've met Bret Hart. Met him 3 times. Met him at a book signing, his autobiography. I got a picture taken with him. Got to hang out with him. I met him again at a WWE wrestling show. I was backstage. I got to meet Taker and then got to meet Bret Hart. A friend of mine got us really good tickets and backstage, to go backstage. And then the third time I met him was by chance at an airport.
Nice.
Wow. All 3 times, nicest freaking guy in the business. The one in the airport, we talked for like 15 minutes, and I just thanked him. It was just like, hey, thanks for doing what you did. The wrestling business hasn't always been good to you, but you've been good to the fans, and he loved it. Have you guys met Bret at all?
I haven't. I've been so lucky.
Unfortunately, I have not.
Yeah, he's it's just freaking amazing. They tell you don't meet your heroes, but screw that. I mean,
so should we get in our first match?
Let's do
our number 10.
Let's do our number 10. We're going to do this really quickly. It is Bret versus Roddy Piper at WrestleMania 7. This was the first real singles belt for Bret, and it came at a time when the WWE was in a stasis. Bret was slowly becoming Vince's it guy, and no better person than a man related to him, Roddy Piper, to take him on at WrestleMania 7. Bleeding most of the match, Bret actually reversed Piper's sleeper hold to pin and win the IC title. I remember this match. I remember it like it was yesterday because, in fact, I watched it yesterday.
What,
And
these your two favorites?
My two favorite wrestlers going at it, and that reverse, where he climbed up, he ran up the turnbuckles and reversed the sleeper hold, has been copied many times, and one of them was just recent, not too long ago in AEW with who was it that did the Bret Roddy match that they copied it.
It's not coming to me. It's coming to you, expert.
I don't recall off the top
I
of
think
my
it's-
head.
If it comes to us later on, we'll bring it up.
Yeah, absolutely. But that was a freaking amazing match. Canada Dry, what are your thoughts on number 10?
Well, this match is such a classic. It's the really only guy that Roddy Piper put over.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
In WWF.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't a guy that put people over. He just wasn't.
Nope.
But even to this day, he's like in his last interviews, he was like, "Well, I let Bret have that one." He's even sheepish about that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He's not straight up, but I put him over. He's like, "Well."
I mean, Piper was notorious for, if it didn't make sense, he wouldn't do it. If it had to make sense, and it made sense to put Bret over because he knew that Bret was going to be that next step, that next in the evolution.
Before we get Jeremy's thoughts, I just want to say that, watching Piper in these interviews, and watching Bret talk, Bret must have been a sponge just soaking up how Piper is doing the interviews, and he's learning at this point how to do a promo, because at this point he can't do a promo.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think Piper helped him tremendously because when Bret first started, Bret was not good at the stand.
Well, he was shy as hell.
Yeah, exactly.
You can see Anvil doing the promos, and Bret's like, yeah.
What he said. Jeremy, what are your thoughts on Mr. Eyesiks? What are your thoughts on match number 10?
I think this is probably my favorite Piper match of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this was a great match, aside from maybe the dog collar match. But this was a fantastic match. I love the finish to it. These two worked really well together. I'm glad that Piper had that respect for Bret.
Yeah.
To do what he did during this match. Great match.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll like I said, I mean, it's been years since I've watched this match, and to rewatch it again as we're kind of putting this all together, I was like, wow, man, Piper really let Bret wrestle. Like, that was the great part, is he let Bret wrestle his style, and that made him a made man. That Piper made him Bret Hart to the fans, and not just this guy from Calgary with the hugest family in the world. So so let's go to we have a news segment.
Yes.
I think we should kick in the news. This is our news. Hit it, interns. From the four corners of the globe, from our studios to your home, this is FNN, the FN News Network, starring Canada Dry and the JFB. Shazam! All right, this is this news is very centric to Bret. I mean, we're not gonna pussyfoot around it. It is straight about Bret, but we do have. I saw you shotgun the coffee. Obviously, the interns made you your coffee.
It's good today. They did it. I don't know. I think it's Stephanie. She knows how to make some coffee.
It's the pour over. I'm telling you, the pour over. That's the way to make coffee.
The French drip.
Whatever you're doing, keep it up.
Yeah. So what's our fact of the day?
Okay, so not everyone knows this. You guys know this because you're Bret nerds, but not everyone knows this. But Bret Hart came in to the WWF as Bret the Cowboy Hart.
Yes.
Came riding a horse, whole gimmick. But his first match in WWF on TV was as a tag team partner to Dynamite Kid.
Yeah.
August 29th, 1984. He made his first debut on Superstars on September 29th, and he defeated Aldo Moreno.
Yeah.
It was his first TV match in a singles match.
Yeah. Aldo Moreno.
So that's your Bret the Cowboy
yeah.
information.
Bret,
Yes.
it still boggles my mind.
Cowboy Bret Hart is what they called him.
Cowboy, I'll lasso you.
Yeah. and now he was the first ever Hangman Page before Hangman Page became
I could
Hangman
have
Page.
seen them maybe like teaming with Bob Orton or something like that. The Cowboys.
Paired with the Texas Tornado.
Oh God, that would have just been hilarious. I mean,
you know, a whole Cowboy stable, Texas Tornado, Cowboy Bob Orton, Cowboy Bret Hart,
Blackjacks.
Oh,
get the Blackjacks in there.
Oh my goodness! Luckily for us, Bret Hart's like saw this ship going down. He's like, well, "Put me in a tag team with my brother-in-law."
Yeah, and it's funny because being from Calgary Stampede is not just the name of a promotion. It's a huge event, and there's like rodeo, and there's like horse.
It's the
racing.
biggest rodeo in the world.
Yeah, it's ginormous. Still goes on to this day, and so I guess Vince was like, he's from Calgary, the Stampede. Cowboy Bret Hart, and that just doesn't it did not fit him at all. It was horrible.
I'm right a bull to the ring.
Bret's bucket. He's like beat the crap before he even enters the match.
You get Owen and them as the clowns, the rodeo clowns. Oh yeah, there we go. Make it a whole family event. So our first thing, this is a couple months ago, but Bret Hart actually teamed up with Romero Distillery to come up with a Romero Dark Rum gift set, which actually has his moniker and signature on the bottle, and it comes with a pair of the Bret Hart glasses.
I would never drink this, but I'd like to just have it.
Yeah, I've been looking for it because it's not made anymore, so you have to go secondhand market. And so those people know, Bret Hart people, Bret Hart.
Maybe if there's really, really a special occasion, you break it open. Like
a collectible.
Yeah. It has to be a really special occasion to open that up.
Yeah.
Did either one of you guys have the Bret Hart sunglasses, like from the live events?
I do. I have some, but I bought them off his website.
I don't know if I could find this or not, but I need to find like a school picture from when I was in like 3rd or 4th grade.
Yeah.
Like they had like you bring whatever you like to school and take a picture in it. I had the Hitman glasses and like the Hacksaw Jim Duggan foam 2x4. Like, if I could ever find that, I'll show you guys. I don't know if I can find it or not.
JFB and I, we want to get those autographed glasses, and we want to start the show with them every episode.
That would be dope.
And then we take them off for the rest of the episode.
Yep, that we are slowly working on that right now. Slowly working on that. The news, of course, is brought to you by Bret the Hitman, Hitman's Bar and Grill, which is a bar and grill that Bret opened in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and it was opened this past February. From what I can tell, it's actually doing very well. People are showing up. It's got buttloads of memorabilia all over the place from his career. There's only 2 places I've ever been to that are wrestling themed, and one of them is in Pennsylvania. It's owned by a guy called Bad Money Slim. I've known him from the Taz show. He has a bar that is wrestling themed, and he has all the pay-per-views, and he's got buttloads of memorabilia all over the place, signed autographs, old covers of magazines and stuff. And the next one is a one up in Boston, but they have a separate room and they open it up. But I'm going to make a trip to Calgary and then head over to Vancouver. So I'm going to do a Canadian tour of my own.
How cool would it be to watch an AEW pay-per-view at Hitman's Bar
It would be so awesome.
with wings. We got the beer going. We're
Oh
watching
God,
the
that would be amazing.
They need to
Oh,
serve
that would
pink
that'd
beer.
be that, yeah.
You know,
That
like the
would-
green beer on St. Patty's Day. They need to have pink beer.
Oh,
Oh,
pink beer should be a total option.
that would be. I don't know if you could. You do? Yeah, I'm sure you could.
I'm sure a little
you
red
can make
food
green
coloring.
beer.
Just
Oh
a
yeah, a
sliver
little
of
hot
dab.
pink in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
It's
a
not
little
really
hot
pink. It's hot pink.
Yeah.
doesn't take away from the taste of good old fashioned Canadian lager. Brett is actually
And doing shots.
yeah,
Sharpshooters.
yeah,
Oh,
sharpshooters. There you go.
Little
The pink lady.
sharpshooters.
We got 5 sharpshooters over here.
Brett's actually in a feature film. We talked about this about a month ago on our news on the All Effing Wrestling Show, but he's featured in a film called Stalker, which was released this month. Now it's only been in Canada, but if you are in the US and you like psychological thrillers, you can pre-order it on Amazon, and when it releases on Blu-ray, they'll ship it to you. That's what I did.
I gotta watch this movie.
Yeah, it's from what I can gather, it's gotten pretty good reviews. So our last bit, this happened this past February. Bret the Hitman Hart was honored by the Calgary Hitmen. Now,
Yeah, this week.
yeah, this week. They raised up his name into the rafters. He will be known as a forever a hitman. So he has a banner at the rink.
So not
Yeah.
only with the Hitman, but when you go see a Calgary Flames game,
Yeah.
you're seeing Bret Hart there every time.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's really cool is, so, was he a part owner at some point?
He was.
Yeah,
But,
okay.
I used to
Yeah.
love those jerseys. I was so jealous of those when he'd wear those out on Monday Nitro.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I want one of those hockey jerseys. Those look cool.
Well, this year they released an actual Bret themed Hitman, Calgary Hitman jersey, which I ordered about a month and a half ago. I'm still waiting for it because mail in Canada is done by. It's actually it's actually better than the mail that's here in the United
Packaged
States.
by
but-
Moose.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's got to be delivered by Moose, and then
That
it's
Moose
gotta-
puts his horns against the door, knocks on it. There you go.
oh my God, it's a moose right outside, but he's got a
You get to
package.
pet him and give him maybe a sugar cube, and he runs away.
You got to sign for this.
Not the Pony Express, it's the Elk Express.
What do
Yeah.
moose eat anyways? They just eat grass, I'm guessing.
Yeah, grass or something like that. You just,
Give him a carrot, he'll love it.
Alex 80 says Bret Hart bubble bath was living the dream age 9.
Oh, I knew that.
I don't remember that at all.
I love a Bret Hart bubble bath.
I don't recall that, but I mean, they had products for literally everything back then. So,
Oh
I-
yeah. Vince knew how to merchandise. We may pick on Vince a lot, but that man knew how to market and merchandise.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So that's our news. I mean, I can't wait. As soon as I get my Calgary Hitmen jersey that's hot pink with black and the little flames going up the side, I'm wearing it. I'm wearing it all over the place.
that's gonna be cool.
Oh, it's gonna be freaking bad. It's gonna be so badass. I can't wait. So now let's go to before we go to our joke of the week, let's look at number 9 of our favorite Bret Hart matches of all time. And I think this one's going to be pretty familiar. It's going to be Bret versus Owen at SummerSlam 94. Now, while there were many matches in the old blue steel cage, this will go down as the best in old blue. A rematch of the WrestleMania 10 match. Bret and Owen had a hard as nails match for Bret's belt. While Bret retained, this showed the wrestling world that Owen could hold his own and be a main eventer. Let's go with the effing expert, Mr. Eyesiks. Your thoughts on this SummerSlam match?
Yeah, I loved it. I love the matches between Owen and Bret. I mean, the chemistry was so great. And like you said, this kind of created Owen Hart as a singles guy. And wow. I mean, these two are just absolute magic together.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. Canada Dry, your thoughts?
This match saved SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Because this was Undertaker versus Undertaker in the main event.
Yep.
And this pretty
That
much
was awful.
saved SummerSlam.
Yeah.
I think Dave Meltzer gave it 4.5 stars. I don't know why he's being so chintzy. He's given 5 stars. It was amazing. How do you not
Give the
give that
Mania
5
match
stars?
5 stars. Yeah.
Yeah. To me, this was the Bret and Owen thing was the epitome of his career.
Yeah.
Just those two going back and forth was so special.
Yeah.
Everything with Bret and Owen.
Yeah.
Just everything was magic between those two.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
you know, it's always been interesting for me is the people that Bret Hart has made over the years, you know, and one of them that comes to mind is the infamous lost match between him and Tom McGee.
Yeah.
There's Tom McGee, who's this like bodybuilder. He's like a black belt in karate, and he's got like he's beautiful. He's a beautiful looking guy. I mean, he's got leading man looks, and Bret made him look like $1 million, which is hard because Tom McGee, if you watch the match, Tom
He couldn't
McGee
wrestle.
could not wrestle to save. He couldn't wrestle out of a wet paper bag. I mean, it was that bad. And it's just amazing how he's making these people because if Tom McGee got signed, it was because of Bret Hart.
I also love anything with Bret and Andre.
Oh, yeah. 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 You know the infamous story with him when Andre used to come up to Canada to wrestle at Calgary at the Stampede Wrestling, and you know you tell the story better. Him and
So his brother-in-law, not his brother, his brother Bruce, I think, he's driving, and I think Bret Hart's in the passenger seat, and Andre's in the back, and they're driving like maniacs to get Andre to the airport. And at one point, the car's on 2 wheels sliding at Andre was so mad. It took months in WWF for Andre to be cool with Bret again.
Yeah. It was so, I mean, and it's funny because if you listen to Bret tell the story, you know, he tells it dead serious, and at the end he starts to snicker. Like he knew exactly how messed up it was. They almost killed Andre the Giant just to get him to the airport.
So let's get into this joke of the week because I totally want to rib on the subject.
All right, let's do it. This, ladies and gentlemen, is our Sunday joke of the week.
Bill Goldberg, who, you know, he should be in the Hall of Shame.
Let's you know what? Let's talk about Bret and Goldberg because Bret doesn't shoot interviews very often. But when it comes to Sean or when it comes to Bill, he is unabashed. He will tell you exactly.
Well, Sean, he's kinder to this since they,
yeah,
you know.
I love how real he is in shoot interviews. Like,
yeah.
I love it. Like the 4 out of 10 Triple H comment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, like, there was a shoot interview on ad free shows where at Starrcade 2, I believe, where Bret talked about how he lost $16 million in less than a second because of the Bill Goldberg kick. So it's, I mean, Goldberg is just a piece of crap. I never liked Goldberg.
You know, you can talk all you want about how crappy Goldberg is and he didn't know how to wrestle. It's part of it isn't his fault because he was just, you know, all these yes men, you're the amazing, you're a star, you're like,
yeah.
If everyone's telling you that, you're gonna believe it, right? No one ever tells you, you know what, you need to learn. Blah, 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 blah. You know, it's a lot of actually Eric Bischoff's fault.
Yeah.
Blame the power plant.
Yeah.
You know, Sarge training Goldberg down there in Atlanta.
But with a positive spin, since this is a positive show.
Yeah.
I enjoyed in WCW when Bret Hart, he's in Toronto, They're all loving him. This is like Bret's epitome in WCW.
Yeah.
The crowds are just going nuts more than anything in WCW.
Yeah.
And he comes to the ring, calls out Bill Goldberg. Goldberg spears him.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're both just lying there for a good minute. They're both lying there. The announcers are selling it so good. They're both knocked out. They're both knocked. What's going on? And then Bret comes to, shakes his head a bit, pins him 1, 2, 3, and reveals the plate around his waist. His
Underneath the Hitman jersey. Yep.
Oh yeah,
That was great.
He pops with the Toronto Maple Leafs first.
What's so great about that is Greg, I can't remember his last name. He calls himself the greatest wrestling collector. And you saw him on Hidden Treasures. He has that plate. Signed by Bret. Yeah.
Wow.
He's got that.
You got to get that autograph though.
He got it autographed. Yeah, it's signed by Bret. And that is cool.
That's awesome.
This guy's house, every room has wrestling memorabilia in it, but he has that plate. I mean, that's wrestling history. I mean, I will never forget that because I was like, oh my God, he took that spear. And then when Bret got up, I'm like, oh no.
Should we get to the next match?
Yeah, let's get to the next match really quickly. Let's go to our eighth match. Number 8, you will remember this one if you watch Nitro. We're talking about Bret versus Chris Benoit on WCW Monday Nitro. There are 10 bell salutes when a wrestler passes away, but what do you do when it's in a different promotion? You get 2 of the greatest Canadian wrestlers to pay homage. Bret and Benoit put on an emotionally charged match as a tribute to Owen's passing. I mean, this was a great freaking match. Canada Dry, your thoughts on this match?
You know that Benoit wasn't going over in this one.
No.
It was something special to me watching that live. You know, I was emotionally devastated when Owen died. So everything about that match, you know, just the pointing up and I loved the Bret Hart turning a sharp. I think Benoit had a move and Bret Hart turned it into a sharpshooter somehow. Yeah. It's just how Bret does. Like, you got him in a headlock. How did this turn into a sharpshooter?
Yeah, exactly. Mr. Eyesiks, your thoughts?
I love this match. This was great. This is Bret Hart's best WCW match, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It was a great technical clinic between the 2 best technical wrestlers of that time period.
Yep.
Possibly of all time.
Yeah.
To be quite frank. I absolutely loved it. It was full of emotion. And kudos to these guys for going out so soon after and being able to put on that kind of a match with that raw emotion. It was just, it's such a powerful match. I loved it.
Yeah. So Noob actually asked if we remember March 17th when Bret Hart went off on Vinnie Mac. If I'm not mistaken, that's the one where it's the steel cage is kind of in parts and, Bret going off on Vince, you know, and this is right in the heyday when Bret was basically, with the exception of everywhere else in the world.
Well, he wasn't quite heel yet.
He wasn't, but he was close. He was close. Yeah. He was like a skosh away. He was like another word away from being, I mean, that to me exemplified Bret. I mean, he was willing to do what it took to get other guys over and make him look like a villain. So, I mean, let's really talk quickly. Actually, Alex Haney says, Chris doesn't deserve that accolade. Sorry. You know what? Here's the thing. We talk about the wrestler and not the wrestler's private life. And Benoit is one of the greatest technical wrestlers.
Yeah, I'm torn on it too. I agree with Haney.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough. Like,
I don't even like to bring him up, but yeah, I'm just stating at the time in that match, they were 2 of the greatest technical performers you could find at that time.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go with our number 7 and let's talk about this. Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect, SummerSlam 1991. This is what you get when you put 2 of the greatest technicians into a ring. Wrestling for the Intercontinental title, Bret fought tooth and nail, even carrying an injured Hennig through most of this classic. Let's talk about it, Mr. Eyesiks. What are your thoughts on match number 7, Mr. Perfect SummerSlam 91?
This is the match that made Bret as a single star.
Yeah.
Period. I mean, this was a great match. This was the one that really, really put him on the map as a really good, solid, technical singles competitor. And the greatest Intercontinental title match of all time. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely. All right. Canada Dry, your thoughts?
See, Bret Hart mentions Kurt Hennig in so many interviews.
Yep.
Like, he talks about at this match that Hennig's back was shot to shit at this point.
Yep.
And Bret talks about how, he knew that Hennig didn't have to do this for him.
Yeah.
But enough credit does not go to Kurt Hennig in this match. But Bret always shines the light on Kurt Hennig on this match, and Kurt Hennig doing the right thing and putting him over and just Bret always said that Kurt Hennig was the safest wrestler he ever worked with.
Yeah.
And like for the safest wrestler to say that about you is pretty special.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because in the 3 times I met Bret, I asked him 3 times exactly who is your favorite wrestler to wrestle against? And all 3 times he said Kurt Hennig. And there's a reason. Kurt Hennig was a great wrestler. But let's talk about the safety of Bret, because Bret would often he wasn't injury prone. That was the big thing. I mean, he had a knee problem, and of course he broke his sternum when he was fighting Dino Bravo. But can you name one wrestler that was hurt by Bret Hart?
Not one.
No, I can't.
And there's a reason, because he respected the sport and respected the people who put themselves through what they were going through.
And it's something beautiful to know that not only you're going against Bret Hart, who has got the spotlight on him, and he's like the top guy, you're also gonna know that he's gonna treat you right, and he's gonna make sure that you go home to your wife and kids at the end of the night. And that's something special about a champ.
Yeah, because I mean, it's a sport where you can easily get injured, very easily get hurt, and in some cases die. And Bret Hart never injured a guy, never killed anybody, and unless of course he was in a movie or something like that. But I mean,
I mentioned one of my favorite moments. Would one of you like to mention one of your favorite moments from Bret Hart's career? Not necessarily a match, but a moment.
I would say probably my favorite moment of his was when he got inducted into the Hall of Fame. I think it was an accumulation of everything he's ever done. That was the acme. That was the pinnacle when he got into the hall, and just seeing him dumbfounded, because I think he didn't think he deserved to be there, and he did in my book. I mean, it just brought tears to my eyes.
Well, we didn't know if it was going to happen because there's that problem and the giant gap between him and WWE. And do you want to say anything on that, Eyesiks?
Yeah, for me, it's not really one particular moment, but when he first turned a heel and he started cutting all those beautiful heel promos against America, I just thought it was so great. Like that, he has never shown more personality than during that time period, and I thought he just really, really came out of his shell as a character, and I love that.
Oh yeah, so Alex Haney says,
like, in Canada, we take care of the sick and the old. It's like he was a baby face.
We still have health care. We don't rob each other on every corner.
Like it was just so great.
Yeah. Well, because and that was the thing, even outside, even in America, he was a hated villain. Canada and everywhere else in the entire world, he was a hero.
Yeah.
And that shows you, like, he knew how to play to his strengths, and which was he knew he wasn't being liked because, the tide was changing. And so he made that change. Alex Haney says,
of a move to take advantage, and not to cut you off, but how brilliant of a move is to kind of take advantage of that tribalism, that kind of nationalism aspect. It was it was brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. So Alex Haney says Brett has said that when he had a stroke, the only people outside his family that contacted in the aftermath was Piper, Henning, and Vince. And I mean, let's talk about let's go to our
do
next
another
match.
match. I got one more beautiful segment I'm going to bring up a little later. Okay. But let's get into another match.
Okay, so we're going to go to our number 6, and that's going to be this. It's Bret versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, Survivor Series 96. The masterpiece of a match is often overshadowed by the WrestleMania 13 match, but I'd argue without this match, there wouldn't have been the latter. After weeks of calling out the Hitman, Bret took the challenge and fought Stone Cold Steve Austin. Let's talk about SummerSlam 96. Can the Dry, your thoughts on this match?
The build up to this was the special thing.
Yeah.
Bret's away. Yeah. And Stone Cold is cutting promos on him.
Yeah.
But he's getting interviewed with Brian Pillman, and he's talking shit about Bret. Bret's away, and he's trying to get him to come back to have a match with him. Yeah. And this is slowly building Stone Cold Steve Austin into a star. He's not there yet.
Yeah.
But the fact he's calling out the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Eyesiks, your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, this is an underrated classic. It really is. This is one of those matches that helped make Stone Cold, kind of like Canada Dry just said. He wasn't quite there yet. He was here. Bret was here, but he was getting there little by little, and this match pushed him heavily in that direction.
Yeah.
Man, it was fire.
Yeah.
I mean, there was so much heat
and
just emotion in this. It was great. It was working towards the better match that I assume we'll talk about later, but this was fantastic too. It was very enjoyable.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was just and Alex Haney says the very last pro wrestling match, pure genius. Yes. I mean, I won't deny it. That it was a beautiful match,
So one of my favorite moments, in Bret Hart's whole career, the segment when Owen and Davey Boy, they're wrestling, things go amok, and they're about to beat the holy hell out of each other with steel chairs.
Yeah,
Bret comes down. You don't know what the hell he's doing, and he stops Owen from hitting Davey Boy, and you don't know what his motives are. And it ends with Bret Hart giving this speech how he loves Owen, and they all end up hugging, and they form the Hart Foundation in that moment.
Yeah.
That to me is the greatest segment in wrestling history.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree.
Very good.
Yeah. I mean, probably my favorite segment would be, I mean, that's tough because there's so many great ones, but I mean, I think my favorite segment was the first time him and Jim the Anvil Neidhart cut a promo, and I believe it was WrestleMania, and they were on the card because they were fighting the Rockers for the belt at WrestleMania, and that first inter-match promo, like the promos they ran between the matches, and I was like, wow, this guy's $1 million. It takes balls to wear pink in wrestling and get away with it, and he did it. So what about you, Mr. Expert?
Yeah, them and the Rockers, that was really good. Like I really enjoyed that feud. But yeah, I mean, anything Bret touches is gold to me. I know it's the same with both of you guys as well. But yeah, I loved him as a heel, loved him as a face. I love the Stone Cold feud. I love going back to the Rockers and him and Anvil together. It's just all great, man. I love it all.
Yeah. Kush actually says this is definitely one of the best rivalries. Stone Cold was definitely coming into his own in this with Bret. Absolutely. Haney says Owen looking over the shoulder into the camera and smirking was like, I love it when a plan comes together. And I mean,
yes, that was beautiful.
Little subtleties. Yeah.
Let's go to our match number 5, and that is going to be, speaking of Owen, it's going to be the WrestleMania 10 match between Bret and Owen. This was the match, brother versus brother, a family torn by jealousy, a match that showcased both as the best in the ring. Bret cemented his moniker while Owen showed he deserved a main event push, beating Bret in the ring with a pin. Ken and Dry, your thoughts on this match?
This could easily be my number one. This could easily be.
Yeah.
To me, the way they set this up, to Bret to lose to Owen in that first match, Owen's on cloud 9, only be ripped off cloud 9 by his brother, being lifted in the middle of the ring as the new world champion. Knowing you just beat him is such beautiful, beautiful storytelling.
Mr. Expert, your thoughts?
I love this match. This is one of the best WWE matches of all time, in my opinion. I think this was the opening match at WrestleMania, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it was.
By
It
far,
opened it.
I mean, that's by far the best opening wrestling match of a pay-per-view ever.
Yeah.
I can't argue with that.
Yeah, I mean, I love this match. This could easily be number one as well. I'm pretty sure Meltzer gave this 5 stars. It's one of the very few WWE matches he ever gave 5 stars to, and it's deserved because this was an absolute classic. Loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a banger. It was an absolute banger of a match.
So my question to you, what is your most memorable tag team match with Bret Hart? To me, mine is when they robbed those belts from the British Bulldogs with Dangerous Danny Davis. To me, when they did that and they got the rub on that, it made the Hart Foundation down here to up here. It was just like instant stars.
Yeah.
I think the Hart Foundation and the Rockers, and I think it was that WrestleFest.
Yep.
VHS
Is
tape.
this the one where the Rockers? No, that's their worst match of all time.
No, but they had like a match on what was it, WrestleFest or something. It was one of those just straight to VHS Coliseum World Video whatever deals.
Yeah.
But that was a great match. Hart Foundation and the Rockers. I remember that one.
Yeah. I'll agree. I mean, when you think of like great tag team rivalries, outside of the Midnight Express and the Rock and Roll Express, the Harts versus, because that really started building that seam between Shawn and Bret. And I mean, the Evan Expert said it all.
I have to mention that match where the Rockers won, and that grossest match of all time.
Yeah.
And the kind of main event, the ropes broke and they were trying to figure it out, and the Rockers went over, and then they canceled that title win and gave it back to the Hart Foundation, and the Rockers never won the title ever again.
Nope.
They're supposed to, but they didn't.
Yeah. Alex Hayden says Meltzer's and next person to mention him, I'm hunting you down. We will not mention Dave Meltzer.
I'm starting to wonder who he does like.
He doesn't.
All right,
like
let's get
anybody.
to our next match.
All right, let's get to our next match really quick. Let's go to our number 4, and that is going to be Bret versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 12. Now, these two men were at the acme of their profession and being the it guys. Each time they met, it had to be amazing. WrestleMania 12, these men put on a 60-plus minute Iron Man match that saw 0 lulls, and even losing the belt, Bret was a made man. Let's talk about this, Mr. Expert. Your thoughts on the WrestleMania 12 showdown between Bret and Shawn?
This was a very, very good match. Now, I think this is one of those matches that everybody said was so great at the time. And then over the years, people have kind of like backed off it a little bit because it did have some lows in it with a lot of rest holds.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you're putting on an hour-long match, you kind of have to pace yourself. That's just part of the storytelling aspect of putting on an hour-long clinic like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is still a great match. I'm quite fond of it. It's not my favorite Bret Hart match, but it's definitely got to be on the top 10. It has to be.
Yeah.
And I know Canada Dry is probably not going to like it because of the result, but it's definitely a great match. I mean, you got to give the props to both men for this match, and like I said, it's not my favorite, but it's very good.
Yeah.
It's still better than most other wrestlers' best matches.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Canada Dry, your thoughts?
So this is the match that started the whole breaking of friendship between Bret and Sean.
Yeah.
They put on a masterpiece. They worked for an hour. Even the Bryan Danielson match had shades of this at the end with the Tony Khan coming out and restarting the match.
Yeah.
But this is what started led to the Montreal Screwjob and this friction between them. Sean told the referee to tell Bret to get the hell out of my ring.
Yeah.
Sure
this is your friend. This is a guy who just made you look good for an hour.
Yeah.
And the disrespect. And Bret was livid. He's slamming doors. As a fan at the time, I thought he was mad because he lost the belt, but he's mad at the disrespect by Shawn Michaels.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good. This until AEW Revolution, this was my favorite Iron Man match, and whether it's 30 or 60 minutes, it's unexplainable, like how amazing it was, because it's one of a few Iron Man matches I've sat through to watch, and that was it right there. Let's go to our number 3, and that's going to be Bret Hart versus the Dynamite, or Bret Hart versus the British Bulldog.
Davey Boy.
Bret versus the Bulldog, SummerSlam 92. Much like his wars with Owen, Bret took on Davey at a packed Wembley Stadium and shot the Bulldog to main event status. Power versus technical prowess. Bret ate the loss, but put on an amazing match and put over an amazing wrestler who happened to have been his newest brother-in-law. Canada Dry, your thoughts on SummerSlam 92?
So at this point, Bret is looking, leading up to SummerSlam, Bret is looking to get a hold of Davey Boy to work out what the match is going to be like.
Yeah.
And he can't get a hold of Davey Boy.
Yeah.
Davey's Boy's DOA, or not DOA, missing in action, MIA. Not yet. So he's looking for him. I guess Davey Boy had been drunk and all this stuff, just going on benders and stuff like that. And so Bret doesn't get a hold of him till the day of the match. And Davey Boy's like, oh no, I've screwed up, and he's down on himself. And Bret's like, don't worry, we can do this.
Yeah.
And so Bret calls the match in the ring.
Yeah.
And they just put on a clinic.
Yeah.
To me, this match is the greatest intercontinental title match of all time.
Yeah. I will agree.
At the time, Davey Boy thought it was him that it was putting over, but it was actually Bret that got put over in this match, even though he lost. Goes to show you don't always need the win to go over.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. F an expert, your thoughts?
Obviously, this is an amazing match. I would put this at number 2, the second best Intercontinental title match of all time, behind the Hennig match we talked about earlier.
Yeah, but this one main evented. That's why.
It did. I did prefer the Hennig match, though. I thought it was a better technical match.
Right,
but this is the perfect powerhouse versus technician style match. The crowd obviously was super, super, super hot. As far as cultural relevance goes, this probably would be the best Intercontinental title match of all time based on that, in the sense that how many British fans were basically like born out of seeing this match or hearing about it. I mean, it's just Liam will gush about it, I'm sure. If you talk to
I guess
him.
Liam was born like, oh, do we name him the Bulldog? Do we name him the Bulldog?
How about Davey? Does Davey sound good? I love this match. It was great. That stadium was rocking. Best European match of all time, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic.
Davey Boy, he gets known for power, but he is quite the technician as well.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's a dungeon guy. He's got some technique for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I saw a clip on Twitter earlier today of from Japanese Puroso. If you don't follow them, you should.
Yeah.
It was a clip of Davey Boy Smith and Dynamite, and it looked like it was in Japan, and they were just doing all kinds of technical chain wrestling and spots. It was crazy. I was like, I've never seen Davey Boy do that before, but it was great.
Yeah. Yeah, it shows you the dichotomy between your Japanese wrestling and your American wrestling is so hugely different. You know,
Dynamite
like,
in Japan in the 80s. Ooh.
yeah.
I mean, that just set the groundwork for everything you see today.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get to our second match, and that's going to be this: Bret versus Shawn Michaels at Survivor Series. This organically created rivalry with two men who didn't like each other. With the belt on the line and Bret about to leave for WCW, what should have been a great going away moment for Bret became the infamous Montreal Screwjob. We talked about the Screwjob, and we're not
I'm
going to,
interested to know why you put this on the list.
because even though he lost, that match is freaking amazing.
But it would have been a good match. They still had a quarter of it left to go, right?
Yeah, they still had time left on the match. Yeah, but I mean, when you look at it, it's not as good as the WrestleMania match, but it's pretty damn close. And that's the reason why I put it on there.
Yeah.
I've got a debate with you here. I wouldn't put it on the list.
I know.
There's no way putting this on the list. What do you think, Hayden? Jeremy, would you put this on the list?
No, this wouldn't have been on my list. I mean, it's a very good match, though. And I can see where JFB's coming from here. This is a really good match. I mean, these two always put on good matches together, but I personally wouldn't have put it on this list. That's just me.
But you know what I do? I like that it's on the list for this reason. We can talk about the sharpshooter loogie from the ring right to Vince's eye.
He hit him dead on like a sniper.
Just like a sharpshooter, like a hitman with the sniper rifle.
Yeah, he was a sniper with a saliva there.
Like that.
Like perfectly placed. Like, wow, he'd been testing that.
He's been practicing.
He's got his two kids, and he's just
It's like the magic loogie from Seinfeld. With, the second Seinfeld.
There, mind you. The other thing I want to talk about just quickly is the uppercut from Bret Hart to Vince McMahon after that, and you kind of live every working schmo's dream of punching their boss in the face.
Yeah.
After you're fired or you quit or whatever. It's like every man's dream to punch their boss square in the eye.
And another reason why I put this on the list is because this was the turning point for me in stop watching WWE and start watching WCW full time.
That was for me as well. I'm like, I'm not watching this.
Yeah.
And the product went downhill after this. Like, it was more raunchy. It was more like, it wasn't Bret Hart-esque anymore. It didn't have that touch of him anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. It got to the point where it was ridiculous because I used to watch one live and tape the other, and every week it would change. And then I stopped watching and stopped recording WWE because I wanted to watch Bret in WCW.
I don't know if you guys remember this, but do you remember Bischoff and the NWO coming out to open Nitro the next night, just making fun of Bret Hart?
Yeah.
Well, they were singing "Oh Canada" really badly. They had an upside down Canada flag.
And I'm sitting there thinking, if I know there's a lot of people in WCW's audience that probably didn't watch WWF at the time, so it's like a lot of people were probably confused. Like, why are they talking about Bret Hart? What's going on? I always thought that was kind of a weird decision. And then they bring him in as an ally to the NWO.
He had signed to NWO, or not NWO, to WCW, and they knew he was coming. And it was a weird segment.
It was weird. Yeah. It was a little strange.
It was so disjointed. It didn't make sense. So let's go to our number one match. I think we can all agree that this definitely should be number one. And that is going to be Bret versus Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 13. I only have just one sentence. Greatest double turn, enough said. Canada Dry, you go first.
To me, this is the greatest match of all time, not because of the technical wrestling, because you got better technical wrestling in Bulldog and Owen and Hennig.
Yeah.
But to me, this is the greatest match because it's a fork in the road. Bret's now having to choose being the bad guy, throwing it all out the window. And now he's professional wise, he's making Stone Cold Steve Austin a star. The fans are behind him. And before the match, Bret goes, you know what? We're going to have to do some blood.
Yeah.
And Stone Cold isn't sure. He's not sure if they should do this blood because he's like he's not at a point where he can do this. And Bret's like, don't worry, I'll take the blame. And it worked out, and it's the most iconic wrestling picture with Stone Cold just bleeding in the sharp. And this pushed Stone Cold over the edge, and you could have had the world title the next day, and it would have been fine.
Yeah, absolutely. F1 Expert, your thoughts on this match?
This is my favorite professional wrestling match ever in history. This is number one for me. Yeah. I've said it before in the past on shows with Liam. This is the absolute pinnacle to me. The storytelling, the brutality, not a lot of technical wrestling, but it's just the brutality of it. Smacking each other in the head with the ring bell. And the color, the decision to get color, they did it on their own without Vince McMahon's approval and just did it anyways. That's just so brilliant. It just tells so much about these two guys as storytellers. That they're like, we need this as part of the story, and we're going to do it, and we don't care if we have approval. Like, that is an artist. Like, that is high-level artistic integrity there. This match made Stone Cold Steve Austin, period. Like, he would not have been what he was if this match hadn't occurred. The famous double turn, this pushed Bret to being a heel. There's so much wrestling history that is tied to the result of this match.
Yeah.
Just think, if you erase this match from history, professional wrestling today would be incredibly different.
Yeah.
Because this was the offshoot of so many different facets of pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Greatest match of all time, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you got Stone Cold Steve Austin gushing to this day over how Bret Hart made him a star, and very, very thankful about that.
Yeah. And it's funny because I was just going to mention that many interviews, Stone Cold Steve Austin has always thanked Bret for taking care of him and for making sure that this match went the way that it went, and he gives him full acknowledgement. Not 316 promo got me started. Bret putting me over is where it got me over the finish line.
That still image of the blood running down Austin's face with his mouth wide open.
Yeah.
They do that, and you see that everywhere. And of course, in the PG era, they grayed it out, put the grayscale on it, made it look even more controversial. Like, it's just the greatest shot in the history of wrestling.
And this wasn't the main event either.
No,
it
should have been.
Event. Yeah.
Because Sid versus Taker was god awful. This should have been the main event.
I gave that -6 stars because that thing was just hot garbage. So, guys, that is our show. But before we get to everything else, what is Bret's legacy? And I'll go with the F1 Expert first. What do you think Bret's legacy will be at the end, when he finally leaves this mortal coil? What do you think his legacy is going to be?
I think it's the transition of particularly the WWE away from the traditional body guys of like the 80s to like the smaller, more technical guys.
Yeah.
I think that's the number one contribution that Bret Hart's made to this business is he shifted it back towards a technical game with like smaller guys that weren't on steroids, to be quite frank. He changed the landscape of how professional wrestling is presented by being the top guy in WWE for several years. I think that's his number one legacy.
Yeah. I think his legacy is going to go down simply in just three sentences.
The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be.
There's just there you can paint, if you were to paint a picture of professional wrestling, it would involve Bret Hart. And I have a friend and she's just getting into wrestling, and I showed her 2 matches and said, this is the reason why I'm a fan of professional wrestling. The second one was Macho versus Steamboat at WrestleMania 3. The first one was the double turn with Stone Cold and Bret. And her exact words were, I can fully understand why you like Bret Hart, and I can fully understand why you like professional wrestling, because as chaotic and as violent as it was beautiful. It was a beautiful symphony that those two guys put on. So, Canada Dry, what is the lasting legacy of Bret the Hitman Hart?
To me, Bret Hart's legacy is probably the only guy whose catchphrase someone can live up to. Like, he lives up to that catchphrase.
Yeah.
You know, you talk about like the greatest baseball player of all time. What name comes to mind? Babe
Anybody
Ruth?
says Babe Ruth, you're all going to get punched in the face.
I'm not much of a baseball guy, so I got to bow
Well,
out
yeah,
of
well,
there.
like,
I mean, Babe Ruth would go down as one of the greatest baseball players of all time. Yeah.
well, he was the first great superstar, wasn't he?
He was the first, yeah.
And I think that's what Bret Hart is. He's like he's living that great first superstar, and like the fact that his matches stand up better than Shawn Michaels says something that we're all still gushing about them today. We're not gushing about Shawn Michaels matches. He was a great performer. Don't get me wrong. No hate on HBK, but Bret Hart's matches are still being imitated to this day. And to me, he really is the greatest professional wrestler of all time.
Guys that are serious about the craft study Bret Hart.
Yeah.
I mean, look at FTR.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, look at CM Punk. The guys that are like really super nerds about like studying this stuff, they study Bret Hart. And there's a reason for that. He's the greatest technician of all time in pro wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you see it. Yeah, CM Punk does an amazing job of recreating Bret Hart matches when he was wrestling in AEW. He did it often.
Yeah, him and Darby Allin did the Sean did the 1 2 3 Kid. Match.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, that is the end of our show. We hope that you enjoy this. We love talking about Bret. You know, who knows? We may do one about Piper. We may do one about some other wrestlers. But you know, the one thing we'll
do a part 2 about Bret next year.
Part 2 of Bret, part 2. So if you're interested in learning more about us, about our prediction league, which according to Prediction League Monthly is the #1 prediction league in all the prediction leagues, AFW, the only way to do it is 2 ways. You go to youtube.com/FN Wrestling, where you can click like and subscribe and not miss out on any of our action. Or you can go to FNWrestling.com, and all the way on the bottom is all our social media links. Now, you go to now, if you want teas, and we know that you do.
Yeah.
Because we have some amazing teas. We got a brand new tea, Effin' Wrestling. Our Colts drinks taste so good that it covers the taste of poison. You can get,
you know, I got my Blue Blast shirt coming.
Yeah, I got my strawberry.
I believe.
Yeah, I got my cherry one
I
in
got
yesterday.
my purple drink coming.
Yeah. If you can get the effing middle fingers, you can go ahead. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And you can talk in all effing wrestling shirt. So whether you want something funny or something serious to show the world your love for effing wrestling, ProWrestlingTees.com/effing wrestling. Now, if you like old school wrestling, and I know that you do, you can get the adorable Adrian Adonis by going to ProWrestlingTees.com/Adrian Adonis, where you can get all of Adrian Adonis's. We have there's a thing on MoveOn.org where we're trying to get him into the Hall of Fame. We feel that it's an injustice that he's not part of the WWE Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Just to end the show, I want to tell a quick little story about Adrian Adonis and Bret Hart.
Yeah.
So our friend Angie, Bret Hart, Adrian Adonis' daughter.
Yeah.
She didn't get to know her dad growing up. She was a little small when he died.
Yeah.
And she didn't really know her dad. And
Yeah.
so she's looking to find her roots and all this stuff. And she's asking all these wrestlers about her dad. And she manages to get a hold of a Hart brother. I forget which one it was. And so he's like, listen, I didn't really know your dad, but Bret Hart did.
Yeah.
Bret Hart phones her, spends an hour talking to her about Adrian Adonis.
Yeah.
And who her dad was.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just filling in her soul with knowledge. Like this big star, Bret the Hitman Hart. So classy to give back and to tell someone who their dad was. Pretty special.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
what a
that's
great way
story.
to end the show. So, on behalf of Canada Dry, the effing expert, Mr. Eyesiks, I am the JFB.
And remember, he's the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be.
Ding, ding, ding. Hit it, intro. Hit it, interns. This has been an effing worldwide media production. You can find us on all social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and others. Head over to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/effing wrestling. And while you're there, click like and subscribe. Want some swag? Head to our store at prowrestlingtees.com/effing wrestling. You can find all these links and much more at our awesome website, effingwrestling.com. As the JFB always says, you can book it.